Alright everybody, welcome to another episode of Ask Armin Some BS, and today we're going to be talking about Marvel. You're shocked, I know, right? We're going to talk about Marvel on this channel. Speaking of that, that doesn't really reflect the Marvel color, so there we go.
I don't have a theme song, so this is a placeholder.
And this question comes from Sean H. Where does the MCU go after Infinity War? Now, this is something I think a lot of people are talking about, especially us here among comic book fans. This has been definitely an ongoing conversation, and it's kind of a big one. Not just because Infinity War is going to be a huge two-parter movie, which it is, within itself is pretty damn astonishing. And I'm glad Marvel is taking that step to give us, an Avengers movie a year apart and two movies in between, which is actually going to play a huge part in what I'm going to talk about. Now, regarding this, I think we all see that the end game obviously is Thanos, but I think the end game has to be bigger than that because after Avengers, Infinity War, you're obviously looking at this whole universe is going to be bigger now. And what I mean by that is, by that point, we're going to have maybe a second Ant-Man movie. The Guardians of the Galaxy are probably going to have more members, depending on if any get killed off or not. The Avengers, someone could die. I've been saying for a while that it's probably Captain America, Chris Evans, that's going to, be put out of his leadership role, possibly, maybe in a coma or something, so they can bring that character of Stephen Rogers later, played by someone else, and possibly have Bucky take the mantle. Now, I think that's the type of thing you need to do after Infinity War. And what I mean by that is let Infinity War Part 2 serve as the conclusion to the characters we've seen. And Marvel is usually good at placing, these things that will pay off far in advance. I mean, you go back and watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., certain episodes, there's definitely hints at what's to come. And now that you watch them back, it makes sense. There's definitely a lot of things such as Iron Man 2, where you see the Senator Stearns, of course, and we find out that he was Hydra. Marvel strategically places these little things that pay off in the end, which is very smart on their part. And I think we can clearly see that when we come to something like Captain Marvel or the Inhumans. Now, the Inhumans are a weird thing because they're, of course, already making their debut in, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is completely different. And what I mean by that is they're debuting in the TV show, but that's not the Inhumans we're going to get in the movie. The Inhumans that we're clearly going to follow in the movie is going to be the royal family. We're going to have Medusa and Black Bolt guaranteed. Black Bolt guaranteed. Got that one right. And I think that's the important thing. The Inhumans on Earth are going to be the ones that have already been seated there, and that's going to, reflect a bigger conflict. Now, when you look at what's after Avengers Infinity War Part 1 is, of course, we have Captain Marvel and Inhumans. Now, when you look at Captain Marvel, could somehow her powers tie into that whole thing? Could maybe she get them from the mist? I mean, we know Marvel's not afraid to reinvent characters, change their origins, and things like that. So I definitely could see that as a possibility. Which honestly, to me, if handled right, they could combine, aspects of the new Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, with the mist and everything, and how she gets her powers with Carol Danvers, and that would, I think, serve as a really great hybrid and kind of a tribute to all the previous ones. Maybe even somehow tie the Kree there. There's definitely a lot of possibilities you can do, so I definitely wanted to play around with that aspect because, for one, in Marvel, I think you need to set up the future. Now, where do you go once they defeat Thanos? And that is really the hard question to answer. When you really think about it, he is the big boss. It's kind of like the X-Men. We're all looking at X-Men Apocalypse is going, once they defeat Apocalypse, what do you do? Once the Justice League defeats Darkseid, what do you do? Like, that's really a hard question. And that's why I'm saying the status quo needs to change. Captain America dies, Thor maybe goes away and he's gone. Someone else has to take the actual mantle of Thor, or the God of Thunder. Maybe it's just a Thor name, kind of like the new female Thor. Maybe Doctor Strange is now going to be the head of the Avengers. It's a completely different team. He's leading maybe Star-Lord, hangs out on Earth for a movie or two. That you definitely need to change it up enough to keep people interested. So in my aspect, in my view and the aspect I think they need to adjust is get us primed for that. And the best way you do that is by already doing it. And I think they're already going to do it, what we've seen from Avengers Age of Ultron coming out. Slowly they're going to bring in Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and those characters are going to now kind of take a little focus in the next movie. They're going to be mentioned here and there. And then by the time, we're already reaching Avengers Infinity War Part 2, they're going to be mainstays. By the time, if anybody's phased out, it doesn't matter because we're already used to, the new guys. And I think that's definitely what they do. Now, who could possibly be a villain going on forward? That's a tough question. Once you've done Thanos, where do you honestly go? In my honest opinion, you're gonna have to go Celestials. And if they don't use them in some sort of, smaller role in Guardians 2, which I don't think they would, I would definitely see maybe some sort of celestial invasion, like a giant grand celestial or something, because I think those characters have to be changed in a huge way, at least, and no pun intended because they're giant. Could they possibly adopt, Kang the Conqueror? Now, I know some of his rights are really muddled up over at Fox, but there's got to be some aspects of that character that they do own, so that's always a possibility. Maybe to do the old, Tut version, which still could play some aspect, maybe time travel, but I don't want the Marvel Cinematic Universe to get tied up in time travel, because that is a whole problem with everything. But those are just some of my thoughts, I really don't see an end goal as I'm saying right now, because after they clearly got to keep going forward, which when we get to talking about a DC end goal, I have a lot more to say on where they go after, certain aspects of those characters. So thank you a lot for the question, man. It means a lot. If you guys have any other questions or thoughts about this, leave them down in the description below. I always like to read them. I like to respond if there's any good theories, and you never know, your question might show up in the next video. So thanks a lot, guys, and until next time, don't forget to ask me some bullshit.
So thank you for watching the video, and if you guys like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you haven't already, check out some of these other great videos we have on the channel. Just click the annotation right there, it'll take you to them. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a good one.